artisans, technicians and engineers as well to deliver products to the market. Then we have dealers. 95% of our business is delivered through dealers. The rest of the business is handled by my colleague here through government and other segments. But the majority of our business is driven through dealers, and they play a big part in creating employment, in reaching out to the customers, because the dealers are the people who are closer to you than us who are now primarily focused on manufacturing. Then we have our financiers. Close to almost 100% of the vehicles we sell are financed through banks. So banks are our critical partners, and you've probably seen quite a number of advertisements that they can provide financing, they can fund you to a certain extent so that you can be able to get your vehicle. Then also in terms of the community, as a rule of thumb, an automotive industry anywhere in the world, it has a leverage effect of 10 in terms of employment. So for every, like now we have around 500 employees at Isuzu East Africa. They are supporting an ecosystem of 5,000, over 5,000 employees who are working for over these 100 suppliers. So we play a big role, and through that, we are playing an important role in the community as well, in terms of road safety, education, environment, and health, as part of giving back to the community. And my colleague will be able to say something about that. So in terms of the value chain, this is what we are looking at. Maybe if you go to the next slide. Yeah, so in terms of our facility overview, just to give you an idea of where we are located on Mombasa Road. You all know our company is Isuzu East Africa, but the stage has remained GM. So where the stage is GM, that is where our company is. And we have an area of around 30.74 acres that covers the entire manufacturing space, the entire service area where we have the servicing of the vehicles. And the factory area is around 17,000 meters squared, where we do sales and service. We have the vehicle assembly and also the administration block. It's important to note that, the area where the assembly is done, this area where you can see primarily, it's a bonded warehouse. That means it's a KRA bonded warehouse. Every operation that is happening there is under control from KRA. That means because we are, by virtue of the business that we are doing, we are exempt from taxes. And I'm going to explain for you much more in the next slide. So this is the CKD assembly breakdown levels. And this is now the primary business case behind which we are able to do our business. There's a legal notice number 84 of 2019, which now stipulates the level of breakdown that the government allows for assembly to take place here, so that to be able to benefit from tax exemptions. Now, what you are seeing here, this is a CBU. CBU means it's a completely built vehicle. So when you import a vehicle complete as it is, it's subject to full taxes. It's subject to excise duty of 30%. It's subject to import duty of 25%, and also VAT of 16%, because when we do the value addition at Isuzu East Africa, there are some taxes you have to pay for value addition. But now, when you come to CKD level 2, and those are now what you normally see, these are the parts that are now coming in form of the crates from Japan. In CKD level 2, we have the cabin that is built. So the cabin comes itself. It has already been welded in Japan. It has already been, the trim, the seats have already been put inside. So it just comes like that complete. Then in terms of the frame assembly, all these parts, you remember what I told you about the 30,000 parts? These are all what comes to 30,000 parts together with this on the chassis and all over the vehicle plus the engine. So in CKD level 2, there is no body shop and there is no paint shop. So you just primarily come and put the cabin on the chassis and you drive off. You don't have so many people doing that work. It's not such a big operation. However, there's another level called CKD level 3, which is now primarily where we are at Isuzu East Africa, where now all the welding operations that were happening in Japan, all the paint operations that are happening in Japan now happen here instead. And that is now where you have the multiplier effect in terms of more jobs being created. We have now more technicians doing that job. You saw in our, in the other presentation, we have over 60% of the labor force at Isuzu East Africa are engineers and technicians. So this is where the jobs are created. We have higher local content. When there is a bigger breakdown of parts, then there are some parts that we identify and say there are some local suppliers who can be able to make it, like leaf springs. We have a leaf spring manufacturer who is in Limuru, who makes this. We have the seats being done by a manufacturer in industrial area, Make Cushion, and they do this in volumes, because if we are producing around 750 vehicles in a month, they all have to have these components, and it creates a very huge employment opportunity. Then we have higher investments in higher technology, because when you weld, we are getting high-tech guns that are used to weld the cabin. Most of you have seen on TV, there are robots doing this welding. So the equivalent is now technicians and engineers operating those welding guns. We are not doing robots yet because our volumes are a bit low. And also we want to create employment opportunities for our people. So that's also something that is important. And also higher skills transfer. So that knowledge that the Japanese have in Japan in doing the assembly, in doing the welding, has now been transferred to come to Kenya. I am able to do things what my counterparts in Japan are able to do, doing design, doing assembly, doing quality improvements. And the knowledge of quality has really come to Isuzu because we are able to do this kind of assembly. Otherwise, if the vehicles were coming in completely built, we really don't need to know anything about quality because everything has been done for us. So this is the biggest business opportunity that we have, and we want to go and work and bring it to a deeper level. Because there's always a question I'm always asked, and it's always a debate, you even hear MPs talking about, that what we are doing in Kenya is not manufacturing. We are doing assembly. But, to clarify on that, vehicle assembly is part of the vehicle manufacturing process. Assembly is just one part, because all those 30,000 parts that I talked to you that are part of the vehicle, they have to be manufactured. And Isuzu does not make those parts. Like, for example, a good example like headlamps. Everyone's vehicle has headlights. Now, Isuzu does not make headlights. It just designs the headlamps and contracts another company somewhere in the world to produce those headlamps. Then I can say out of those thousands of parts, it's only close to maybe 10% that Isuzu makes. Like example, the body. We have stamping machines that stamp the doors. They stamp the cabin. They make the dashboard and things like those. So the automotive industry primarily depends on other suppliers called Tier 1 suppliers to provide us with these parts that are going into this vehicle. So for us to grow, we need to have incentives in place so that we can have these other companies coming into Kenya and not only manufacturing for Isuzu, but also manufacturing for the whole world. So we need to have an export kind of mindset in us growing our automotive industry. So now that we're done with the introduction, I'm just going to share with you a few key learning areas that we've been able to experience in our journey as Isuzu East Africa. There are a lot of things. We'll invite you, and of course you are invited to come to visit us at Isuzu East Africa. And every day is a learning experience. Every day we are discovering new way of doing things. And that's the most exciting part of what we do at Isuzu East Africa. In terms of quality, we are learning, we are making mistakes, we learn from those mistakes, learn fast, fail fast, and improve fast. So that's how we've been able to grow. And we are just going to share with you a few learning areas that aligned to us implementing our quality management system. So we'll look at the assembly process, we'll talk a bit of quality management, we'll talk about our Isuzu manufacturing system, and also our journey, how we transitioned from the General Motors to Isuzu. Then also we're going to talk about the customer experience and customer satisfaction. And also, like William said, the concept of a sustainable business. This is a new area, and I'm happy that you're talking about ESG. ESG, which is environment, governance, and society. Yeah, so the ESG part of the business is also very important. So I'll start with the assembly process. So what I'll do as part of the assembly process, I'll just share with you a viewpoint, overall snapshot of what we do. Then I'll highlight some key areas where we've realized some improvements. So when the vehicle comes into the factory, we have these parts. There are some tools called jigs that are used to hold some of these parts into position. Like now, this is the body shop. And once the technicians put these panels are now what come in from Japan, and they are put in position using these tools, which are called jigs. Then once they are held in position, now these are the welding guns that are now used to weld the various panels into position. And now after that, quality checks are done to see how strong the weld has been done. So this is the complete flow, because now you can imagine the flow of your vehicle. That flow has to be welded properly for it to be watertight, for it to be strong, so that now the structural integrity of the vehicle can be in place. Now, this is the jig that I was talking to you about. We have two main lines. We have N series. N series is the medium and light duty truck that we have, and F series is the bigger capacity bus. I mean, bigger capacity trucks and buses that we have at Isuzu East Africa. We'll also have the pickups. I'll be able to show you briefly, but this is typically the setup. After the welding has been done, there's what we normally call metal finish. After welding has been done, it's important to remove any sharp edges, any welding material that is protruding. They are finished so that the vehicle can have a smooth finish, because a smooth finish, the exteriors of the vehicle, the customers interact with that. So you don't want to get a cut. You don't want to have an injury because of that. So this is the metal finish process. This is the F series operation. And also this is an upgrade of the new model. I know you've been seeing the old model of Isuzu, then you see the new shape. When you change a model, you also change the body the jigs. These are the jigs. You also change that. Then now, next you look at the paint shop. After you've assembled the body, you've done the welding. The next key operation that happens is the paint operation. The paint operation has quite a number of steps, and recently we added an additional process called electrode deposition, which is a very high-tech process, of which now the base coat, because there's a process before even you start this paint process. You have to give the steel structure body of a motor vehicle corrosion protection. So there's a special paint called ED coating, and we launched it last year. The president came to open it, and there are only two such kind of facilities here in Africa. I mean, three. There's one in South Africa, there's one in Kenya, and there's one in Egypt. So it's now attests to the kind of high investments that are needed for us to be able to improve. And because of setting up that system, we are able to employ more people. So in the body shop, we have the surface treatment that is done, cleaning after to remove any dirt. Then it is sealed, because to prevent water coming into your car, this sealing has to be done. Failure to which, when you wade through water, especially during these floods, you can see water coming in. But when you wade through the water, you don't see any water coming into your car, because that sealing has been done. Then you also do the sealing for the cabin. Then it goes for the first spray. Then after it's sprayed, it's finished, so that you can have that good shiny finish on your vehicle. Then thereafter you do quality checks. So after that happens, after you now go to the trim line. So after the cabin has been sprayed and painted, you now come and put the seats, You come and put the dashboard. You come and put the cockpit, which is the dashboard, and you put in all those small, tiny, the window winders, the windows, and this is a highly labor-intensive process, and we employ quite a number of people to do this work. You can see seats here. These seats are locally made by the local manufacturer, and they meet the same standards and quality as those that are made in Japan. Because the criteria and the requirements for you to do local part manufacturing, it must meet the parts that are done in Japan. And even the engineers from Japan come here, audit the factory, and test to see that it actually is of the right quality. So it's really important that we look into that as well. Even as we are dealing with suppliers at KeNHA, we ensure that as much as we are trying to manage quality within the organization, those whom we are interacting with must also have the same attitude, they must also have the same mindset, so that we have quality through and through. Then next is the chassis line. So while the cabin is being built, on another line at the same time, you have the chassis, which is now the structure in which now that carries the vehicle. We have the steel C-sections that come in from Japan, and we rivet them. This is now the value addition. You saw in my earlier presentation, those small parts, the chassis has to be riveted, it has to be welded, and you can see now after it has been riveted and welded, the axles are now put on the chassis. After the axles have been put in place, the cabin is now, you see this is what has now come from the other slide. It has been completed. It is now mounted on the chassis, and now after that, quality checks are done to ensure that everything is in place before releasing it to the customer. So that is a summary of the assembly process. Then when you go to, I missed that one. When you go to the end of line operations, after the vehicle has been completely built, there are some tests that have to be done. One of the key tests, and we normally call this the end of line operations, is to ensure that the vehicle is safe. So a safe vehicle is a vehicle that can stop. So you have to test for the brakes. If the brakes fail, that vehicle will cause an accident, it will cause fatalities. And one area of improvement that we're able to realize is that previously, believe it or not, after we were building vehicles, we used to drive them along Mombasa Road. You can imagine you are driving along Mombasa Road, the inspector, the vehicle tester would drive on the highway, to just check how well the brakes are performing. And of course, due to the very fast, the vehicle is being tested, so it could be driven pretty fast. And unfortunately, it led to some accidents happening. In fact, this stretch between Mombasa Road, the airport stretch, was a very, very, very bad stretch, and it led to around, I think, as far as I can remember, there are some fatalities that happened, during the vehicle testing process. So as a result of that, an area of improvement was proposed, which is primarily a brake and speed test. So we're able to have what we normally call a dynamic roller tester. So this dynamic roller tester, you put the vehicle on the rollers, and it can be able to exert a braking force that can be able to test in terms of force whether the braking is adequate or not. So that was a very, very major improvement, and it led to cost savings in terms of driving around with fuel, and also in terms of safety. There are no more fatalities that are happening because of driving outside. So that is one area of improvement that we're able to realize. The other area that we improved, especially, is in the shower test. Once you do the welding, you have to ensure that even after you've put the seal, you have to ensure that that vehicle cannot leak even under any circumstance. So you have to do that check, because there are times you'll find that some water can seep through and you're not aware. And how we came to realize the importance of this was a very interesting story. There's a time we were making some buses. I know Justus was there at that time. They were called GB Polo. We tried to attempt to do bodybuilding. We tried to do bodybuilding and said, even if there are people who are doing it, even let us try doing it. And we partnered with a company in Egypt, where we took their the body that they were manufacturing there, and we brought it here in Kenya, and we customized it, we designed it to make sure that it actually fits into one of our chassis. And yes, we released it into the market. But shock on us, when the vehicle went into the market, a very new vehicle, it started raining. I think it was one of the rainy seasons started coming in. And the vehicle started leaking on the inside, like in a very serious way. It's like, you know, the leakage was so severe. And the funny thing is, one of the Isuzu engineers was actually inside that matatu. And they felt how people were complaining. People were saying, "Now, these people of Isuzu, how can they, this is a new bus, why is it leaking?" And he joined them and said, "Yeah, these Isuzu people, they are not doing a good job. Down with them." Because it was a very, very interesting kind of scenario. And the reason for that, when we did investigation, was that in Egypt, there is no rain. They get zero rain. So the designs that they did was not for water tightness, because there is no way that vehicle can leak, because it rains, they receive zero rain. It doesn't rain at all in Egypt. So what we forgot to do is that to factor in local environmental conditions. And because of that, we came up with what we call a shower test booth. So this is a shower test booth that now produces spray. And this spray is actually designed to simulate severe monsoon weather. So that spray is at 2 bar of pressure, and it is sprayed at 3 meters per second in terms of spray velocity. So that is the Isuzu standard. And we saw that because it was just a bus, why don't we now cover all the vehicles that we are manufacturing to ensure there are no leakages that happen? So we realize that now in the regular production, there's always a defect that comes about. Either a rubber seal has not been put correctly, we have a bit of leaks. So we now have an opportunity to ensure that we correct all the kind of leakages that happen resulting from the assembly process. So that's one of the key areas and improvements that we're able to realize. And it has improved our attitude and our approach towards quality. Then finally, on the pickup operations, I said we also assembled the DMAX. This is what you know commonly as the DMAX. And what we do for the DMAX is CKD level 2. We are not doing CKD level 3. We are doing CKD level 2, where the cabin comes in already painted, but we do the trimming inside. We don't do the welding on the chassis. It comes in complete, because now it is CKD level 2, not like CKD level 3 like for the trucks. And the rest of the process follows much the same as the trucks. And for the DMAX, we are also looking at opportunities. Hopefully in future, we'll now also produce in greater detail, like we are doing for the trucks. Then next, we will now look into quality management. And the next slide is just showing our journey in terms of quality management and implementation of ISO standards. I must say this has been the best decision we've ever made as a company to pursue ISO certification, because what it did immediately, it changed our entire operations. It changed the way we document our processes. It changed the way we view our customers, because for the first time, we were now being made aware about customer expectations, customer requirements, and how best to meet them. Since our establishment in 1977, operations, we got first ISO certified in 1999. That was our first ISO certification. Then in 2002, we obtained our first ISO 14000 certification, which is for environment, because we did a lot with effluent, and we have a waste water treatment plant within Isuzu to be able to handle waste that we produce within the plant. Then also we have we acquired OSAS 18001, which has now moved to 45001, which is health and safety management systems. Then also we obtained an accreditation by KeNHA. An accreditation is different from a certification. An accreditation looks at technical competence. So we've been trying to see opportunities we can add value to our customers by doing inspections. So we acquired that accreditation. Then we transitioned to ISO 14001, which is 45001, sorry, which is for health and safety. Then in 2022, we made a decision and saw that based on the certifications we've been able to achieve, the ISO certifications for 9001, 14001, and 45001, there was an opportunity to be able to integrate them. Yeah, and I know you've probably heard about integrated management systems, but what that means is that you now operate all the ISO management systems as one, while addressing the specific thematic areas within each standard, so that now when you're being audited, you're audited as one at one go. So when an auditor comes to audit for quality, they're also looking at you're addressing quality issues, where are the environment and safety issues within the quality. So that's what we've been able to do, and that's been our journey. Just talking a bit more about our ISO 9001 journey. What ISO did for us was that when we first got certified, the focus now became on process, the process approach. And that process approach has become very key in what we are doing. Engineer Kirira talked about the process approach, and we've been able to handle that. So even as we've transitioned to Isuzu in 2017, even Isuzu Japan now got its first ISO certification at that time. So in terms of GM, we were a bit ahead in terms of quality, and now we continue looking at that going forward. So next, I'll just give a brief overview of our organization chart in terms of quality. We have 5 divisions: engineering and manufacturing, after sales, finance, HR and sustainability, and sales and marketing. Initially, quality was primarily focused in the manufacturing engineering division, because that's where the products were being made. That was before we acquired ISO certification. However, later on, the top leadership said, for us to be successful as a business, we have to spread this ISO implementation across all the divisions. And as a result of that, the top leadership decided that we are going to have a company-wide quality assurance and customer satisfaction committee, where not only the manufacturing people are attending that meeting, but also the sales and the support units are also meeting to discuss quality issues that are impacting their sections. So the mindset for us to be successful is that we need to incorporate quality across all sections of the organization. And I'm very happy to hear that Engineer Kariri has been able to do that successfully. And that has resulted in a quality of culture spreading from manufacturing as best practice to all other sections of the organization. That has been our biggest learning, and that has been our biggest achievement. So quality does not belong to one section of the organization that is dealing with quality, but because of the process approach, all the processes in the organization are interconnected. The output of one process is the input of the next process. And if you map them out, you'll find that they are making a complete loop. So that has been our key learning in that area. Then looking at the quality organization within quality, one of the areas that we learned is that previously quality was mostly reactive. You know, quality inspection, we are waiting for something, a defect to come up, then we all run around and say, okay, what are we going to do? The customer has complained. Then, from improving our systems and learning from the ISO principles, we're able to realize and learn that there is quality assurance and quality control. Instead of primarily focusing on quality control, where we have manufacturing quality engineering, so where you are now doing the inspection, the inspectors are looking at the defects that have been identified in the vehicle at the end of the line. You're also having inspection from supplier quality. When those suppliers are bringing in the seats, they are bringing in the leaf springs, they are bringing in the floor mats. There's always that inspection that is happening by the quality inspector before they go into the line. Then also in the after sales, when the vehicles come in for service, after they have been serviced, we have quality inspectors checking on the quality of the work that has been done, of the service. are the brakes okay? Are the brake pads, are they still in the right levels? Are the fluids in the engine at the right level, and things like those. But that was not enough. We needed to ensure that those defects that are being picked up, because there was a time in Isuzu where there were so many defects, even coming out of the factory in Japan, and they came here, and we were having a lot of problems, but we didn't know where to start. We realized that we need to focus more on the processes as well. Now, process quality is now what you call quality assurance, like Engineer Kirira said. So, for the issues that are happening in the field, we had to look at the processes. The field engineers who are out in the field helping customers, they are finding problems. What are the processes that have been used to build the vehicle, and how has that defect been created? Then the ISO integrated management system, the processes that are being documented when implementing the ISO standards. How effective are they? Are they giving the intended outcomes? Are they giving the intended outputs when we are implementing them? Then there's something very important called the customer vehicle audit. We normally call it the GCA, which is the global customer audit. This in Isuzu is a very important inspector. It's called actually an auditor, because this is the person after the vehicles have been released for sale in the yard, ready to go to the customer. They pick 1 or 2 vehicles from the batch that was made the previous day, and they do a very detailed audit. Detailed, very, very detailed. They take close to 3 hours looking for any possible defect. And if they find something, then all the other units that were made in the previous day must be checked. If they had already gone to the customers, those vehicles must be recalled, because the auditor is responsible for ensuring that the same level of quality that has been attained from a vehicle that is being built in Japan is also at the same level of quality when it is built here at Isuzu East Africa. So this is an auditor. They report to me, but they have been given powers by the mother company that if they find something that they feel is not safe for the customer and they are in agreement with me, that auditor can escalate straight to the international office and action will be taken. So it's a very important aspect of ensuring that you as customers receive quality products, especially from the assembly plant. Next, some of the areas that we improved. I'll talk a little bit about communication. Lack of effective communication was a big problem at Isuzu East Africa, because being a very fast-paced assembly plant and organization, we were, you're producing close to 30, 35 vehicles in a day. There are so many assembly operations happening. And when problems happen, the following day, there would be issues at the beginning of the day. Then no one knows exactly if there was a defect, there was a problem in the line. No one knew exactly what was the problem and who was involved. It's because the managers were asking the supervisors, and the supervisors were not aware because they were not communicating with their team members. So the solution that we came to that is to have what we call a quality audit meeting. When you come to Isuzu, this is a location that is at the entry of our assembly plant, and you see it involves all members who are part of the manufacturing process, from engineering, from manufacturing, from quality, from safety, from maintenance, and we all stand around here every morning between 8 and 8:15. It's a standing meeting for us to look at the previous day's performance and to plan ahead for the day's activities. So if there was any issue, or if there was anyone who had a problem the previous day, they can be able to report it, and they can be able to get the support that they need. So we look at areas of safety. What was there an incident the previous day? Quality, what are the defects that were created or found, and how can they be corrected? What was the production? What are the numbers that were produced? Were there any quality issues? Were there any disruptions? Sometimes equipment can fail. So when equipment fails, then you're not able to build the vehicles like you're required. So in that case, the maintenance people must be able to respond and say what they're doing to address that issue, so that now all the other teams can be able to work effectively. Then also for checking for attendance. Sometimes the team there is very big. So out of close to 300 people, some people may not be coming, or maybe they can fall ill for any reason. we must be able to report that so and so has not come, so that what they are doing can be able to be covered for by somebody else. So that will avoid that kind of scenario. And we meet daily. On Monday, we look at environment, health, and safety. We look at performance on Tuesday. Wednesday, we do what we call layered audits, basically looking at how well the plant has been organized. Then Thursday, we look at the supply chain, people who are bringing parts into the organization. How well are they doing that? Then Friday, we are looking at the process control plans and what kind of processes that are critical, and have there been any defects, major defects that have been captured. So communication is a very critical area for us. And also looking again at communication. And we can push it to the next slide. Yeah, thank you for that. Okay, sorry about that. Maybe the next one. Yeah, so let's be there. So in terms of the procedures, we've talked about procedures previously. Implementing our ISO assisted us to now incorporate our internal controls procedures that were being handled by internal controls with those that were now the work instructions and documents. The key learning here was that when you are implementing quality, especially in line with the ISO principles, you cannot have two sets of processes. You cannot have an ISO process and this is what you do on a day-to-day basis. It's important that you have both processes being one so that you integrate quality into your processes. So that was a key learning. What you're seeing here is a typical vehicle design procedure. Previously, it was a work instruction on its own, but we were able now to align it with the internal controls that were required for the same and also with the requirements of the ISO standard. So that has helped us a great deal to ensure that we don't have duplication and having multiple systems that are not working. Then a key issue of risk management is our business continuity planning. We realize that for us to be effective as an organization and to maintain quality, we must address risks that can hamper or deter our process of performing our operations. So we look at three areas. There is emergency response planning. If you can go to the next slide. Emergency response planning, one challenge that was there was locating staff during emergencies. During COVID, was especially presented a big challenge for us, was now, if people are coming to work, somebody has not come to work, how can you be able to trace them? How can you be able to find out where they are? Because it's going to impact the business operation. And as a result of that, we have a system in place that we set up called a call tree system, where somebody can be able to find out all the way from the managing director to the directors, to the managers, to the supervisors, all to the team member, where they are and how they can be assisted. So this enabled us to ensure that at any one time, our procedures, our manufacturing process was still ongoing, even though there was an emergency like COVID happening. Next slide. Yeah, so another area that we are looking at in terms of risk is the service continuity management, which is the main challenge is loss of company data in overseas servers. One of the challenges that we are having is that during the General Motors time, we were having all our information stored in servers overseas. However, that presented a risk, and especially all the information that we are having that is being captured relevant to quality operations. If they were lost, we were not able to know which vehicle had an issue or which vehicles we needed to recall at any one time. And what we did was that as an improvement, we came up with a system where we transferred to our servers to the local locally here in Kenya, so that, and we were able to back them up in other locations as well. So that has been a key area for us in improvement, especially in addressing risk management. Next slide. Next is business resumption planning. So the main challenge we faced was that documenting critical tasks for restarting a process. What we noticed is that, at some times when you have critical operations within the organization, like now we had an instance where there were some key people who are handling key processes, and we realized that if they were not there for any reason, then some of those processes would not happen or would not continue. So one area that we did was that we came up with work instructions, standard task sheets and task instruction sheets, where everyone in the organization, from the managing director to myself to the technician on the workflow, has to document what they do on a daily basis. Everything that you do is documented, and to the very detail. If you are attending a meeting, what is it that you do in that meeting? Who is involved? Who do you communicate to? What kind of reports do you make? So that was very important for us, such that if somebody is coming into a new role, if somebody is coming into my role, they have documents that explains exactly what I do, and they can be able to learn that job in the fastest time possible, and to ensure continuity of business operations. So that was a key improvement for us as Isuzu East Africa. Next slide. Another area of improvement was in the design and development. We do some kind of designs and development. What you see our bodybuilders building has to be approved by us as the design engineers at Isuzu East Africa. So after we assemble the vehicles as knockdown kits, they are brought from source. Design and development is done together with Isuzu Japan, the bodybuilder, and Isuzu East Africa, so that we can ensure parts that are locally made, like chassis reinforcements. We have to customize and reinforce the vehicles to adapt to our local road conditions. So we have the chassis reinforcement, we have localized parts such as springs and U-bolts. Then also there are some components that we end up manufacturing and designing for manufacture for the local industry. We had a case of a steering pump that we made, we co-designed with Isuzu Japan. The way the power steering was being used by local matatus here was being operated in a way that it's not done so in Japan. So we had a lot of failures as a result of that, and we had to come up with a new design together with Japan on creating a power steering pump that will not fail in the way it's operated by matatu operators and drivers here in Kenya. So that's also an area of learning that we realized we have to come up with procedures that will support local development for some local parts to support our bodybuilders. Then also, another challenge that we had was metrics visibility. When we were having objectives being set, no one was aware about who is doing what, which team has achieved what goal in the process. So we came up with a board where now all these metrics became visible, so that everyone, it's at the entry of the plant, and if you come, you'll be able to see it, such that everyone who is working at Isuzu, when they enter, they can be able to see what the performance is in terms of quality, in terms of the people attendance, what is the safety, what is the environmental performance. And we've gone even further to improve this system, where you can see it on an automated dashboard, an electronic board, so that now everyone, even as they work in the course of the day, they can be able to know at lunchtime how many vehicles have we made against target, what is the defects, how many number of defects have been captured to date against our target, how many safety or injuries that have happened, how many environmental incidents that have happened, and also, most importantly, what is the cost, because the cost of production is what maintains our competitiveness. We have to manufacture at below a certain cost for every vehicle in order for us to be profitable. So all these objectives in terms of quality have to be communicated and displayed to everyone within the organization, so as to know exactly how we are performing. Then also a key area, and this is part of what we are doing right now, is knowledge management and information sharing. One of the key challenges that we had is that when we learn something this is the same area where we have the morning meeting, like I showed you before. When we learn something, because within those 15 minutes, 20 minutes meeting, we learn a lot of things. But we can quickly forget them if we are not in a position to document those learnings. We're able to record what we have learned. So it's very important. And because of that, we came up with a capturing and sharing lessons learned board within the area. So every learning that we do is documented here. This is for the week. Then after that, we have an engineer who is going to document what has been captured here. And after they have documented what has been captured, they are uploaded into a database of knowledge sharing so that anyone who comes into the organization, or if you need to remind yourself concerning what you learned on a certain day, handling a certain situation, you can quickly go to that space and find out what was learned so that you don't forget, because organizational knowledge has very high value, and if it is lost, then it becomes very hard for new employees, new team members to come and get up to speed. So maybe, okay. Yeah, so that is really important for us as we learn. So after that, we're going to talk about the Isuzu manufacturing system. So the Isuzu manufacturing system primarily comprises of key principles that we adhere to as we build our vehicles. Some of these, we can go to the next slide. As much as we are focusing on the people, these are the quality objectives. The principles are standardization, built-in quality, short lead time. Short lead time basically means from the time the supplier releases the parts to come to the assembly line, they should come at the right time, at the right quantity, so that you don't have any wastes. Then you have a continuous improvement mentality. You have a people involvement mentality. You have to involve people in the decision-making process. You don't make decisions alone. As engineers, we have to ensure we get buy-in and inform our technicians concerning what changes are happening to the plant and how we can be able to improve. So those are the key principles. And they have really helped us. This is a summary of what I've just mentioned in terms of people involvement, where you involve all participants. And very key in terms of quality is built-in quality. Engineer Kariri talked about it. You're talking about doing something right the first time and building in quality in the work that you do. This is so important because quality begins from the work that you do. In whatever it is that you are doing, the quality of work that you give for your supervisor or for your manager or for your director to use to make decisions will have an impact on the quality of the decisions that are being made. So there were two approaches that were looked into. When we were in the GM system, which is the American system, there were very strong proponents, and if you go to the next slide, there were very strong proponents of the built-in quality. Built-in quality means that the responsibility for quality is with the person who is doing the building, the assembly work. The responsibility for quality is not with the quality inspector. And that's what Engineer Karite was saying. You need to have a culture of everyone's responsibility for quality being there. So in the General Motors, GM is General Motors, this is the kind of approach that they were having. That at the various levels of an assembly plant, initially you have quality, which is Q. You have manufacturing, which is M. Manufacturing engineering, which is process engineering, and product engineering, who are in charge of designing the parts, and the supplier quality. Their approach was that the role of quality, as you go through the improvement process, the role of quality continuously decreases, while the responsibility for quality increases with the plant operator, with the person who is doing the work. So you can look at it at a scenario like here, the responsibility for quality not being with the quality assurance team, but the responsibility for quality being with all the other team members who are in all the other departments.
The quality assurance team now primarily becomes a supporter and an enabler, and to help coordinate the activities of quality across the organization. That was the approach that was there by General Motors. And the principle behind this was that once quality is owned at the point of the work being done, then quality is assured at the end of the process. Then the other approach that was there and for Isuzu was that the priority is having the inspector taking the major responsibility for quality. And you can see here, it is the inspector, the QC, the orange areas. This is the person who now determines whether the work proceeds or not along the process. And the production people, they do their own self-check. They call it voluntary quality check. So it's like they are checking themselves, but they know there's somebody ahead who is going to be ensuring that the work that they have done is okay. So in our work, we've kind of embraced the two, because we've realized there are unique situations where you need a quality inspector in the line to be able to assure quality, while at the same time, you need to introduce a culture of quality ownership in everyone who is doing the work. So what has worked best for us is to have both approaches, where we have the quality inspectors at the same time driving quality ownership to all the employees in the organization. So next we are going to look at customer experience and satisfaction. The area we've improved here primarily is that we've learned to become more responsive to the needs of the customers. Because over the years, the customer has become empowered. They have gone to social media. So nowadays, people don't wait for complaints. Complaints are received instantly. And as Isuzu East Africa, we've learned that we must be able to be there to respond. So part of what we've done is that we've set up a dedicated customer care desk that runs 24 hours. So you can be able to have somebody responding to your inquiries any time of the day. We've also introduced a toll-free number, 0800-724-724, where somebody can be able to call and report a complaint, a dissatisfaction, or get any support in case they are stuck somewhere. So we've also have a USSD code, and also you can try this *824#. So you can be able to get all information on pricing of the vehicles, any model that you want. You can be able to get this information. And also we've put ourselves out there in active social media presence, so that any complaint or any expression of dissatisfaction is addressed to by our customer care teams, who are always there online at any one time. Then what a very interesting metric that we track is the Net Promoter Score. A Net Promoter Score is primarily a score of how likely are your customers likely to refer you to other people. It's called a promoter. So we normally engage Ipsos Synovate or other independent pollster companies to go and reach out to our customers who can be able to give independent and credible feedback as to what they think of our products and services. And we use this feedback to be able to now custom make and tailor our services, our products. If customers are complaining about some products, we are able to address them so that now in the next assessment, which is done in the following 6 months, we are able to assess the effectiveness of the actions that we've taken to address those complaints and expressions of dissatisfaction. So next. Yes, so that's what we've done as far as customer experience and satisfaction. Then finally, on the area of sustainability, William has talked about that. We've looked at, going forward. For us, sustainability means that we are able to use our resources in our company for the benefit of the future generations. So that whatever we are doing right now is just not for us, but we leave a company that will be able to deliver customer satisfaction, that will be able to deliver solutions going even into the future. So we look at this through sustainable development goals, and some of those sustainable development goals that Isuzu East Africa impacts are in this area, in the area of safety, education, diversity, energy and water conservation, environment, and employee involvement. And they are primarily in 3 thematic areas of planet, profits, and people. And those are aligned now to the our products. Our products are contributing a lot to the pollutants that we have in our city, in our country. Emissions and environmental sustainability has become a very big issue. And for that, you've been hearing about the need to minimize pollution and to work on the environmental controls. So we have a standard case 1515-2019 that mandated all vehicle manufacturers to transition to Euro 4, which is now to minimize all these kind of pollutants to minimum levels so that we can cut down on carbon dioxide emissions as well as particulate matter. Isuzu is a diesel engine company. So diesel engines produce particulate matter, which is detrimental to the health. So we are looking to introduce new powertrains like Euro 4 and Euro 5 going into the future so that we can minimize the environmental impact of the vehicles. That is important for us looking forward into the future, being a sustainable company. And we are doing a lot in that space. We have a carbon neutral strategy, which is basically the process of us moving towards electrification of vehicles in the middle and the longer term. This is just a schematic of where we are right now. We are now doing a lot of design and development for electric vehicles that are going to come into the market in a future date that we are going to see. But in the wider scope, development planet and people. Then finally, in people, we, growing our business as Isuzu East Africa, the people are a big part of it, and we have to make sure that the employees are well catered for. They benefit from learning and development. We look into diversity. Right now, we have an active policy at Isuzu East Africa to ensure that at least 30 to 35% of our technical workforce are women. So we work with we have a deliberate plan for those engineers and technician ladies who are interested in the automotive industry, they get an opportunity to come into the space so that there can be diversity and equity in the workplace. Then also, safety is of big importance, to Isuzu East Africa. And the overall priority is, everyone coming to work and going back home safely. So that is our commitment to the employees as well, which is also key. Then in people, and also to cap it up, all these improvements that we've realized have been have enabled us to grow our market share over the year. Since 2011, our market share has steadily grown to, we are now at 53.9% in all the segments. And last year we were top in the new vehicle category for commercial vehicles, the light commercial vehicles and the SUV category. This is as a result of our commitment to quality and customer satisfaction. Commitment is everything, because you can be able to, to have all the processes, all the procedures in place. But if you do not have the commitment to do what is needed, you are not going to get results. And so our secret is commitment. Each and every employee at Isuzu East Africa is one. And this is a testament to our customers being happy with our products. And we strive to ensure that going forward, we give our customers a better experience. So in conclusion, I can say that there is a quote by Dr. Edward W. Edwards Deming, who is known as the father of quality, that quality is pride of workmanship. The work that you do, if you can do it well and take pride in what you do, then that will be the starting point for quality, and the quality will not be able to go below that. So the best quality that you can be able to get in your organization is the quality of your own work. If you feel that the quality of your work is not good enough, then you need to improve it. And going forward and going throughout the organization, quality is going to be achieved. But of course, through commitment and deliberate action to maintain and sustain quality. Thank you very much. And I would like to also to invite my colleague, Justus, to take us through some of the wonderful products that we have. Thank you.
I think it's still morning. Good morning. So we do just a quick exercise. Let's wake up. We've been seated for a long time. Stretch a bit. And then say hi to your neighbor and ask your neighbor this question. Does Isuzu offer any solution for you? Ask your neighbor that question. The question is, does Isuzu offer any solution for you? Umeuliza? Very good. Stretch a bit and you can get your seat. Stretch a bit, then you can get your seat. You can be seated. The water that you're drinking here and probably the meal of lunch that you're going to get was ferried from the market, from the farm to the market to this place using an Isuzu truck. Our logistics for security, from the military to the police. We'll talk about the military, we'll talk about the troop carriers, pulling our troops from one place to another. solutions like the water bowsers, filling water, the fuel tankers. All these go through an Isuzu platform. Our national police, when we talk about your local police station, local mobile, to make sure the security is well put through, that is an Isuzu pickup or an Isuzu truck. So our conversation then is, we don't sell vehicles. We make solutions to make sure we keep our economy running. And that is why then in our commitment is that we offer transport solutions that give you value. And that is just a quick summary, but I just quickly run through our product lineup. We start from the SUV, and at least today we've gotten a chance to bring our SUV here. It's called the Isuzu MX. You can all view it. It's just at the parking, and an Isuzu double cab, which is the 3000cc. So on the SUV segment, we have two ranges. We have a 1900cc 7-seater SUV diesel engine, and a 3000cc 7-seater SUV diesel engine. It is well known as the Isuzu MX. From there, we have a range of pickups, starting from the very well-known D-Max single cab. This is the vehicle that most of the people need to retire. And so, if I have that single cab, then my farming project will be very well done. The hardware, all those applications on the single cab. If you look at what follows our newspapers, for example, Ilagari Nation again, the single cab. Some of these have clocked 99999, almost 1 million kilometers. Calvin will tell you, we change the speedo and they start a life journey because of maintenance. And that is a big secret. So that we make sure we don't only sell the vehicle, but we maintain it for you to achieve maximum value. We go to the light trucks, from the 2-tonner all the way to the 6-tonner. Those are mainly used for logistics in various segments. Then we have the medium truck from the FRR. Physical ground inaitwa Silicon. That's the local ground name. The FRR truck, that is one of the biggest seller, the biggest logistics truck we have in the country. And if you look at the FTR, well known for ferrying the sand from the river. The FTS, as I've talked about, military pattern vehicle, very well known for filling troops. The AVR and the AVZ, these are vehicles that have been used in your projects. A lot of construction works then goes through the two. We have the heavy duty, which is the GXZ truck, that's our prime mover. And in the bus segment, we have buses ranging from the 25, 33, 51, and 67-seater. And we've introduced one which is, again, Viewer NPS. So in terms of our overview, Isuzu East Africa, with our offices just next here on Enterprise Road. I know everybody calls it GM. But we also have a network in the region, including East Africa. In Kenya, we have 6 dealers within the regions. We have a dealer in Uganda and a dealer in Tanzania. So we classify them as a dealer who can do 3 things for the 6. That is selling vehicles, servicing the vehicles, and selling parts. Other than that, we've gone through another channel where there are some who can service the vehicle and sell parts. That is what we're calling the 2S, where we have 22 in Kenya, 11 in Tanzania, and 4 in Uganda. And we have those who only do service, which are quite a number. So total, we call touch points. When you sell your vehicle, when you buy your vehicle, you need to be sure that when you want it to go for service or for maintenance, it is within your reach. So in every county, your presence, actually within every 50 kilometers, you can service your Isuzu at an Isuzu approved outlet with genuine parts and with assurance that the people you'll find there are competent and very well trained. Other than that, we do a lot of capacity building, technology transfer. We transfer a lot of this knowledge to the people on ground, as I'm saying. You'll find them having gone through Isuzu certification, so that by the time they're touching that vehicle, they know each and every component that they need to use. We do a lot of internship programs, train people so that we release them in the market with a lot of knowledge. Driver training for us is key. Actually, we do it for free. If you buy an Isuzu vehicle, we insist we must train your driver. Train them on the vehicle itself, because now we call them vehicle managers. They are not drivers. Because remember, if this person doesn't know how to manage your vehicle, they will get a problem. The driver calls you, tells you, mkubwa, angalia WhatsApp. You know what it means, eh? If you check your WhatsApp, unaona gari imepiga somersault, unashindwa utoke kwa ofisi kidogo, you're not sure which other call you're going to receive. So drivers, we train them about the product, about defensive driving, so that they manage the vehicles very well. When we talk about solutions, these I've talked about food security, I've talked about the environment, to an extent where we have a mobile clinic. The mobile clinic built on a truck, it goes and makes sure people have got, the health services on ground, the mobile workshop, places where we think we are extreme in terms of reach. If you break down, Calvin talked about the engineers on ground. If your car is broken down, whichever point, we have field engineers on ground, and you can always come and rescue you with our mobile workshop, fully equipped to make sure your services can be held on any location. We provide waste solutions from, you'll see these mainly in government, especially counties and national government. Solutions I've talked about, the man lift for KPLC, the tippers, and the troop carrier. In terms of our channel, 74, I've talked about the service points, the parts. We give genuine parts which also have warranty. The problem is when you buy a vehicle, you assume ukienda pale nyuma, you're told filter is this price. When you come to Isuzu, you think a genuine filter is this price. It's a bit expensive. But because you cannot cut it into two and see how genuine it is, then your vehicle is told, you're told your vehicle should be serviced after 10,000 kilometers. Put a filter, one is fake, one is genuine. After 6,000-7,000 kilometers, your vehicle has issues. So the only way to get a genuine is to go to an Isuzu service outlet. Talked about vehicle engineers on ground and training. Other than that, as Calvin said, we are very cognizant on the environment we work within. And on CSR, we make sure we do projects to give back to the community. We have got 3 pillars. One is road safety. We work a lot with NTSA. We've got a health center in Naivasha constructed by Isuzu, because we thought that was one of the highways that has got a lot of accidents. We've done a lot of communication, advertisements, and safety updates through NTSA and ourselves. Education, we've partnered with many programs like Farmers Foundation, where in every vehicle we sold, like in the year 2022, 1,000 shillings was kept aside to help the education pillar, and we've educated quite a number of people. Environment, especially when we went through the COVID times, we have donated a lot of water cleaning points and a lot within the environment to make sure then our CSR pillar gives back to the community. And the last one, I'm sure you've seen the Isuzu brand ambassador, because we want to resonate with the best. So Eliud Kipchoge is an Isuzu brand ambassador from 2017. Working through the journey, you see his attributes are well resonating with an Isuzu as a brand. And with that, we are building 159 units. We call it the limited edition. His club, So if you want to be part of the club, it's only 159 units. The SUV that represents Eliud, that represents what we do as Kenyans. You can see maybe you can also negotiate for a discount. So mine is very brief, just to talk about the brand. I'm sure in many segments and sectors and in your day-to-day activities, you use our brand, and ours is a commitment that will continue supporting you, and we will serve you not only at sale point, but at after sale point to make sure you get value for money and to assure you that our commitment is to give you a solution that works. So thank you very much. Asanteni sana.
Thank you very much, Justice, for taking us through Isuzu. And also thank you very much to Engineer Tiomi. Maybe Justice, you forgot to tell us that any one of us can drive this, the one you packed up here, for free for 1 week. Full fuel, is that true? No? But it is for demo. So any one of us can pick it for demo for 1 week. Okay, thank you. So thank you very much. I think now we'll go to the session of questions and answers. We've heard from Engineer KeNHA, we've heard from Engineer Tiomi. And some of the most important things that have come up is at Isuzu, when they talk about quality, what do they mean? Safety. Is that true? At KeNHA, when you talk about quality, what do we mean? In 1 or 2 words, without using a sentence. Better connection. Okay. So that one I'll leave you to think about it. And the other thing that has come out very important is that, is the quality of your work good? So there are quite a number of things that we've learned. And now is time to ask questions. Engineer Howard, please come forward. I will help us moderate this together. So it's time for questions. And they don't have to be questions. They can even be some comment or any form of reaction.
Mine is to thank the team from Isuzu for the very good presentation they have done. And one of the things I was coming here for is to try and benchmark. And I'll just mention a few. I've jotted quite a number. They say, the one I would start with is the use of USSD. Maybe you could also try the USSD, which is 824 hash. I think KeNHA, here we are lagging behind. We do not have a USSD because I think we have assumed all Kenyans have smartphones. So I think it's the high time we also benchmark on this and have an USSD. That's one thing I think we'll benchmark and we'll follow up. And there's something they mentioned about communication. And he said quality audit meeting every morning, which is a standing meeting. These are things maybe for us, because we are not doing day-to-day work, we could try to see that our contractors do have this meeting so that they can review what they did yesterday, what challenges they had. This is something I think we should also benchmark. Something that I think this one I'll do personally, but like we said when we are starting this thing, it's not only for the authority, it should also be for yourself. Documenting what you do every day so that you think, so that at the end you can see, were you productive? This is something we should also strive to do. And then the last thing that I think our knowledge management team should do, and we'll go back to Isuzu, is capturing and sharing lessons learned and storing them so that in future or later you can be able to come and check and see that you can be able to go back to see those lessons learned. We have a system we could benchmark. We don't need to invent the wheel. We'll go to Isuzu. I hope they'll agree, be able to see them. Then I can see Isuzu are planning ahead. They're already planning a map. They showed us the map there, a plan there, when they are expecting to see EVs. These are electric vehicles. KeNHA, if we sit on a rappel and just sit there, EVs are coming, and what EV means, we'll have less fuel levy. Less fuel levy, even our salary might not be paid. Then as I end, mine were just comments. As I end is, he said, commitment at Izizu is for everybody. Commitment on what they do, on quality, everybody. I think I want to be sure, and I know you people will all back me, that very soon, every member of KeNHA will be committed to quality road and better connection. Thank you.
Yes, hello everyone. My name is Meshak from KeNHA, and I have a question for Engineer Calvin Tioni. Thank you very much for your presentation. It was quite interesting. Now my concern, the first one is about quality, safety, and comfort. Now from your presentation, it was quite apparent that Isuzu East Africa only does the manufacturing of the chassis before handing it over to the bodybuilders. Now post-production, after you've handed it over, how do you ensure adherence to quality, safety, and comfort in areas like the center of gravity, comfort, safety, and all that? I'll give an example. A lot of Kenyans use public means for transportation, and they have issues. For instance, the leg spacing between the chairs is the seats, it's quite inadequate. And also the frames for the chairs are exposed, the metals. So in case of an accident, the impact can be quite dire to the passengers. So how do you ensure that these bodybuilders adhere to quality, safety, and comfort post-production? And lastly, the last speaker mentioned that they have what you call the Isuzu certification for experts who do the repair of the vehicles, the maintenance. Now, does this certification extend to the local mechanics, the ones we go to on a day-to-day basis, not necessarily from the dealership, but the ones in the informal sector? Does that extend to them as well? And if not, are you taking any steps to extend that certification to them? Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much. They say that our public service vehicles, Calvin, they are death traps. And I'm glad he has brought it up.
Thank you for the good presentation. Apart from what our director said, emphasis should be on quality, and that you don't have to wait for QA to come and ensure that there is quality. And then when they are off the site, you go back to what you are doing. The other thing is about failing. We all fail. So what I got from him is that fail fast, but again learn fast from the failures that you've gone through. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I'm not seeing any other hand. If you can allow me, I can take the microphone to this. Okay, one more.
Thank you, Engineer Calvin. What I wanted to ask in terms of perfection of your products, what is the proportion of your cost in terms of trials? Because I think most of you don't just come with the product, but also what is the cost you have assigned for trials? Because that one we want to link it also with the roads, so that if the trial is part of the costing of the final product. Thanks.
Normally, questions about quality are best asked by common mwananchi. And Calvin, when you are here, we are a common mwananchi. That's why all questions are coming to you. I doubt, I've not had any question coming to
KeNHA. But I suspect if there was common mwananchi here, he would ask, with all these quality stories, why do we still have roads unraveling 3 months after opening? Maybe we'll need to respond to that. As Calvin tells us, why do we have death traps in the name of buses on the roads when we still have all these quality narrations? Thank you. We start with Calvin, then we'll come to KeNHA.
Thank you very much for your question, and I acknowledge the information that you've shared. Indeed, like I mentioned during my presentation, the vehicle building process is in 2 stages. First and foremost is the assembly at the plant. Then the next phase is bodybuilding. Now, I acknowledge that there have been quite a number of challenges, especially on the bodybuilding area. And one of the key challenges we've been having is that the standards and regulations that have been put in place. There is a bus bodybuilding standard that was established by KeNHA and enforced, by KEBS. There was a bus bodybuilding standard called KS 372 that was set up by KEBS and enforced by NTSA and KeNHA, which is the accreditation body. Now, the issues of leg spacing and also of bare metal exposure in the bus is a common defect that is normally there. And the KS 372 standard clearly outlines and stipulates what the leg spacing should be. And it is the responsibility of the bus bodybuilder to ensure that those specifications are adhered to. All safety related exposures, like in the seats, have been addressed. But one of the areas that we've been having challenges with is that those bodybuilders that have been approved by Isuzu East Africa to build the bus bodies for Matatu, they have been approved by Isuzu. We have checked their system. We have ensured that they have the right personnel, the right equipment, and before that vehicle goes to the market, it has actually been checked by the bodybuilder himself, and also an NTSA approved inspector, independent inspector, also checks that bus to ensure that all safety issues have been adhered to. Now, Isuzu only works with what we call approved bodybuilders. However, NTSA has their own list of those who are approved to do that bodybuilding work. And one of the key challenges that we are having is that there are some bodybuilders who are who are outside kind of our approved list, and we kind of tend to have challenges surrounding that. So that is something that we are working in progress to ensure that all bodybuilders who are doing this work have to be compliant. They have to meet the requirements of the standard. But also, in addition to that, there has to be aspects of maintenance, because you see, you'll find that a lot of with age, and that's part of one of the issues we've raised with NTSA. There should be regular in-service inspection, so that the aspect of maintenance is looked into, so that apart from design issues like leg spacing, issues like upholstery being fixed, broken seats should be adhered to, should be corrected in good timing. The work of the regulator is clearly cut out as NTSA, and for us as Isuzu East Africa, we are really pushing the regulator to enforce this requirement, because we cannot, our role is not enforcement. Our role is only to ensure that the bus is built correctly and it meets the requirements of that KS 372 standard. So yes, we acknowledge some of these challenges, and we've made some significant improvements. There was a time there were some very serious accidents happening where you see the buses rolling and the tops being ripped out completely because of poor materials. But after
the government intervened and regulated the bus bodybuilding industry, we now do not have so many of those incidents or accidents happening in a severe way. At least we have improved in terms of materials, we've improved in terms of design, we've improved in terms of center of gravity, and we are working to ensure that from the cutoff point, because the time these regulations came in, it was I think at 2014, but we still have many vehicles that were built and operating before 2014. And those are the majority of the vehicles you can see. They kind of have those design issues like leg spacing. So we are working with the regulator to come up with a revalidation process. The standard provides for a revalidation process where every 5 years, the vehicle is checked again for design requirements and also to ensure that any corrections have been done, the vehicle is stripped down and built again afresh to meet those requirements. So after enforcement of the regulations, we've done a lot of work to ensure compliance. However, we still have legacy vehicles that have been there in the market before that. And it's up to now the regulator to say that those vehicles should either be put out of the market or they should be revalidated and redone again. Thank you. Maybe my colleague can answer on the certification before Engineer Karit.
Yeah, thank you, Calvin. Maybe on the question on local mechanics and have we trained them? So as I mentioned, our key is knowledge transfer, and that we do in a very big way. But again, remember, when you just go to any mechanic, the question I said about parts, the only way when you buy an Isuzu, you're sure that the part is genuine, because counterfeit is everywhere. I mean, even right now, somebody will just come and look at this pen and produce the same. The only way you'll be sure that the part you're buying is genuine is when you visit an Isuzu approved service outlet. But what we've done is, because we are training every day in one of the programs, so the indenture training program. So that training is ongoing. We release these people to the market. You'll find that most of them are the ones that go and open their own businesses and start servicing not only Isuzu but any other vehicle. But the most important is, if you want that kind of a service, come buy the part, then take to the person to do the service. The main thing here is that particular genuine part. Thank you.
Thank you, Engineer Howard. Your question is, why do we have roads failing within a short time of the construction? Yes, that's a question. Where does quality rise? And as Engineer Kevin hinted, they also had a journey when they are GM to where they are. The issue of does quality lies with inspection, or does it lie in the process? And that's something we are taking home. Quality lies in the process. We don't have to wait for the end product so that we can confirm quality. The other aspect which we may need to work as an industry is, yes, KeNHA is ISO certified, but our service providers, the contractors we are onboarding, the consultant we are onboarding, are they ISO certified? So that is an area which we need also to check. Thank you.
Maybe Engineer Howard, maybe I can just answer the second question on the proportion of cost trials. Yes, so we cater for the cost of development, and it's definitely a part of the cost of the product outside of the manufacturing process. One thing about Isuzu is that any new product that we can come in here into the market, before we take it to manufacturing, we have to do trials. A good example is what we do with especially very intense applications like sand harvesting. You see these sand harvester trucks, they endure a lot of fatigue loading. They work under very harsh environmental conditions. And before we release them into the market, we have a trial process that can take up to 6 months, where we subject the vehicles to tests. And the best way of doing this is that we normally select some customers who have very high intensity of use and application. We give it to them. We put instrumentation into the trucks to monitor their performance, driver behavior, stresses in the chassis, fuel consumption, and there, based on that data, we can be able to fine-tune the areas of weakness, the areas of improvement, and it's a cost that we incur. And in terms of the proportion, as of now, it is, I can't put a figure to it, but it is something maybe somewhere around 5%, because the amount of research and development has already been done at the design stage, where they are making the materials. A good example is that as design engineers at Isuzu East Africa, they are in a position to say, based on the load capacity, based on the working condition, there are some structures, let's say some, the chassis frame. It must be a certain thickness at the fabrication stage from the origin before it comes here. So what we do here is just suitability trials for the specific environments that the vehicle has to be subjected to, and that cannot be done at the source plant where the vehicle is coming from. So that's what I can say concerning that. Thank you. Have I answered your question? Thank you.
Okay. Maybe, thank you, Engineer. While you still have the microphone, there is one more question from the audience online. And the question is, at Isuzu, we talk of safety as part of the quality assurance, as part of the quality. The question is, how do you contribute to the road initiative in terms of safety? How does Isuzu contribute to safety in terms of various road initiatives?
Thank you very much. We have contributed quite a bit in terms of road safety initiatives. I can mention there is one that we've worked with NTSA that involves driver awareness. We've produced some series of videos, just showing how driver behavior impacts road safety. And we've done it in collaboration with NTSA. We've had Isuzu staff being part of the initiative, doing the videos, doing the skits. And these videos can be found in the NTSA social media portals and the website. And we are using Isuzu vehicles just to show the level of commitment, and also reinforcing positive driver behavior. We've also been involved in working with border operators around where we are located on Enterprise Road, just to be able to spend time. Staff take their time off, especially on Saturdays and Sundays when there is limited work, to just teach about road safety rules. Because we realize at Isuzu that over 90% of the causes of accidents are actually caused by driver behavior or rider behavior. And we have to play our role as the manufacturers of the vehicle to create awareness. So we are committed to that, and that's a few examples of what we've done. Thank you. And just to, maybe he has something to add.
So just to add on that, I mentioned that one of the things we do at Isuzu, we put up a training arm specifically for driver training and mechanics training. So, and it's a free service. Anybody who owns an Isuzu, you're very free to get the drivers to come for a free training in groups or in whatever. We have a full arm for that. And that is one of the main ones, because we want to tell the drivers and to train them on defensive driving and on all the aspects of the vehicle. And not only the drivers, as you're saying, we have organizations where you find they have like a workshop. So what we do is we go to that workshop, we train them on the right tools, and we train all the mechanics it's a free service. So that's a big one. So that we want every vehicle on the road, not only the driver, but the vehicle itself is in a steady position to be driven safely. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. The other question goes to Engineer Kirira. What is the quality trend for our roads, pavement, with regard to variance between the designed life and the actual performance?
Okay. The variance between design life and the actual performance. Okay, I can say we have not done a computation on that, but fairly, KeNHA as an authority, our product have been above average. We have not done the actual figure that we can give a percentage, but we can say, and it is known, even out there, common mwananchi, maybe we have Engineer Kevin and his colleague here, Madenge, they can tell whether they can, when they are on our road, how they feel them. But we have not done the actual computation. Thank you.
Thank you. I think you have some work now for you.
And
that's an area that we may need to look at. Any other person so that we don't lock out? That should be the last question. Director may say agenda. After that, we can have one or two ladies. There is one behind you. Kimaliza, give her the mic.
Okay, thank you so much. Good afternoon, everyone. Engineer Kevin, that's a very good presentation, and my concern is just in two folds. Number one, Isuzu is talking about the quality vehicles. KeNHA is talking about quality roads. So all these, they are talking about the quality. When you produce the vehicle, you release those vehicles to the road. And that's where they are driven. And we are talking about the quality roads. One of the challenges that we have been fighting with is on the issues to do with the overload. And those vehicles which are overloading, they are the quality vehicles which are produced by Isuzu. So they come and they affect our quality roads. The question is, out of your innovation, can you help us to address the affecting the quality on the roads? I was trying to understand, like, if you can try to manufacture a vehicle that can only carry or maybe can start when it has been loaded with only required weight. If you overload, at the point of overloading, the vehicle cannot start. That one will help us to address the issues to do with overloading, because the vehicle cannot get to the road. And I don't know whether it's something that you can just be able to do. You can help the authorities so much. My second question is on the areas of collaborations. Now we are talking on the issues to do with electric vehicles, and I'm thinking these electric vehicles, maybe they come up with the new modalities. We are also doing the new roads in different topographies. We talk about the automotive engineering at the Isuzu. KeNHA, we are talking about the civil engineers. So at what point of intercept, these two engineers, they talk? Because you have spoken about the center of gravity, which is very key on terms of the quality. But some roads, they are designed, other times you just unasikianga, hii ngari haiwezi piga hii speed itaanguka. So when the engineers, they are designing the road, do you also communicate to them and also tell them this is the level, the new model that we have released to the market, this is the center of gravity, so when you are also designing your roads, consider these dimensions. Thank you. Thank you. There was a hand from a lady behind you.
Hi, I have two questions to Isuzu. How do you deal with the issue of monotony and its negative effects on quality in your assembly line? And the second question is, how do you deal with the risk of the people you've entrusted to ensure quality being compromised?
Thank you. Over to you. Thank you very much for those questions. They are very, very good questions. Very, very good questions, very critical questions. And those are the key things that we ponder about, even as we engage with our customers and also regulators as well. I'll start with the issue of overloading. Overloading has been the biggest challenge, both us as Isuzu East Africa and also KeNHA as our partner. You run the way bridges, just straight from the culture. If we are able to ensure that we do the right thing from the onset, then we would not have a problem with the axle load violations and issues of the sort. We were just discussing briefly here with Engineer Gatitu when that question came concerning the carrying capacity and the design of the trucks that we have. Now, when we design the truck has been designed to carry some specific load, and you see the truck is actually marked load capacity. It's very well documented in terms of the tare weight of the vehicle and the load capacity as per the design and as per the regulatory requirement. However, when the vehicle is being designed, there is an inbuilt, you can call it factor of safety. There's a factor of safety that is put on the vehicle so that we can ensure that early failure of the vehicle integrity does not happen. And that has been done so deliberately because as the vehicle is being used, it is subjected to fatigue loading, cyclic loading. The vehicle is going over and above. So if we do not account for that factor of safety, then there are going to be problems with the safety of the vehicle. Number two, now when the customers decide to overload, what they're doing is that they are breaching the limits of the factor of safety that has been inbuilt into that vehicle. And what happens? You start realizing early wear, early failure, cracks start beginning to develop. And most customers, they actually know that. And they know they're not supposed to do that. But you start getting reports of cracks happening, vehicles failing, drive shaft failure. And a lot of these customers who know they are doing that, they will not come back and say, my vehicle is, no, they will later just buy the parts and continue using the vehicle. However, like my colleague Justice has said, driver training has been our biggest defense and our biggest channel of, there is no training, driver training that is done without incorporating the dangers of overloading. Because what does overloading do to our vehicles? First and foremost, you stress out and overload the braking system. The braking system that has been designed in our trucks are not designed to handle those excessive loads. So you have issues of early brake failure, early wear of the brakes. Sometimes, it can even wear after 3 weeks or 1 month. And that's supposed to go even for like months. It can lead to, other driver related, because if you can't brake, then you can likely cause an accident. So we are really, really focusing this in our trainings. And just as I said, we've now put up a policy. We cannot sell a vehicle to a customer without telling the customer, where is your driver? Where is your vehicle manager? Let them come here. Let them be trained so that they know the implications of misusing the vehicle, the implementation, the implication of going outside the requirements and the capacity of the vehicle, so that they know. And we tell the vehicle owner, because a lot of the times the person who is driving and the vehicle owner are two different people. We have to bridge that communication so that there is ownership and responsibility on both sides. Then on the issue of collaboration between KeNHA and Isuzu East Africa, that was actually on my mind as my takeaway from today, because the good thing is that the vehicles that we are producing now, and since for the past, I can say 5 or 6 years, they are now have telematics. They now have electronic control modules. And because of having these electronic control modules, there is a lot of data that we are capturing. We are capturing fuel economy. We are capturing data concerning driver behavior, So, and also we are capturing, the vehicles are now enabled with telematics, where we can be able to do fleet management. We can be able to know which vehicles are in which location at any one time and how are they being driven. So with all that information that we are aggregating right now, we can be able to interface with KeNHA to say, okay, based on a certain maybe location where you're having some accidents or you're having some road failures, what has been the vehicle data or characteristics of the trucks of different categories that have been going through that area at that certain time? To the point now we can be able to pinpoint what driver behavior are we observing over this number of trucks at this region, at this location, at this time, day or night. So we can interface the data that we have and the data that KeNHA has to be able to create value and to improve both the design of our vehicles and also the design of the road infrastructure. We'll be able to now prioritize now, where do we need better markings, where do we need more driver information on the roads, so as to ensure that we design also better products that can interface with those road infrastructure that is being put up. So I think that's a good area of collaboration, and among many others, and we are looking forward to collaborating in these spaces. Then on the issue of monotony of code quality work, yes, I understand very well. The work is very heavy, very routine, but how we've been able to break this monotony is that we have come up with a scheme where we rotate the technicians from one section to another. So if you are in trimline, or whether you are in the welding section of the plant, you have flexible, we call it flexibility. That means a technical operator should be able to be competent not only in the welding section, but also every 3 months they are rotated to the paint section, where they learn about that skill and also about quality in that section. Then they all have a chance to work in all sections of the assembly plant. So in that way, we address the issue of monotony, boredom, but also we encourage the learning of new skills, such that in case, and that's how we're able to address issues, like I said, during the morning meeting. When somebody has not shown up, or maybe a few people have gone on leave in the paint shop, all we need to do is look for somebody from another department who has worked in that department previously and has been certified, can fill in those areas. So we have a very flexible workforce in the assembly plant that can be able to address this issue of boredom. Then on the issue of the integrity of quality, that is now a behavior issue that we normally deal with as a company. At Isuzu, we have a policy that call it, disclosing a defect or a mistake during the assembly. For example, if an operator breaks a part, even if it's a very expensive part that can run into hundreds of thousands of shillings, they are not to hide. There is a policy of non-retaliatory or non-disciplinary action on self-disclosures on quality issues. So that way we can say that there is no point of somebody hiding a defect and having to fear that they are going to be punished or they are going to be made to pay, But in the process of hiding, that defect goes out into the market and causes an accident. So as a company, we've set aside provisions and said, hey, if somebody makes a mistake, if you damage a part, the best way to ensure that doesn't happen again is to train that person, to train them well, and put in place measures to ensure it doesn't happen again, rather than pursuing a course of punishment. That is the policy that we've put in place. Irrespective, we've had incidences, people even forgetting to put oil on the axles, and the vehicle goes out there, it causes a defect, it causes damages worth close to 1 million shillings or more. But we don't punish. We say, let the person learn and let the defect never happen again. Makosas, kufanya makosa sio shida, kurudia ndio shida. So we focus on ensuring that we don't have repeat incidences by reinforcing the learning. And that's where the lessons learned comes in, so that people can know what has gone wrong in the past and how we can avoid that from happening again. I think those are all my questions.
Okay, thank you, Engineer Kevin, for great presentation and insight you have given us. And we are really privileged, and with the many lessons you have taken. As take home for KeNHA, maybe propose we move from emphasis on product quality to process quality. And how do you move? How do you make that transition? It is high time KeNHA has a way of self-assessing the product, the laboratory, so that we don't always outsource or go to the other parties. We have had Isuzu. We have what we call customer vehicle audit, customer audit, group audit. For their own, we do it in-house. That's something also we need to borrow, such that we don't wait for the road to be completed, when it starts failing, and we get surprised like any other person. So, thank you.
Thank you so much. William, I think I need to make a small comment, because when I was listening to the presenters, first there are two veterans. Calvin is a veteran in quality at Isuzu, and I think Engineer DK Kirila is the longest serving head of quality assurance in KeNHA. I need to confirm that record. When I was listening to them, I was taking some notes of tidbits. Unfortunately, I take my notes inside my head and not on a notebook. And I wrote one of them on my social media, that if you cannot control, I'm so happy they spoke about process. If you cannot control it, then forget about quality. Okay? And if you cannot measure it, then forget about control. And if you can measure it, then it has a number. And if it has a number, then it can be presented as data. The point is that perhaps the rallying call that we can have toward the end of this exercise is to refocus on data-driven decision-making in bringing quality in what we do. What perhaps we could call statistical process or quality management. I think that will make a big difference. And I just want to acknowledge our director sponsored 10 people to do data science. It was a very stressful training, but I think, I say that because I participated, I'm a witness. But I think we have no option. If we must walk the journey of quality, we will have to bear with the stress of data science, so that then we can make data-driven decisions. Thank you, and over to you, William.
Okay, thank you very much, Engineer Howard. I think we now come to the end. I know we still have a number of questions online. A number of them are addressed to Engineer Kiriwa. I think this one you can respond to them later. And also those questions that are addressed to Engineer Kelvin, I'll be able to share them with you so that we can be able to respond to our audience online. So thank you very much. I am also informed that we will be having refreshment after this. for everybody, not for a few, for everybody. And I think as part of knowledge sharing, let's continue sharing information. Let not this session end here. Quality is every day is life. Every day it's quality, is about life. So I think with that, let me invite DD Research and Innovation, Dr. Victoria, to come and give us a vote of thanks, and then we will invite Dr. Foucault to come and give us a closing remark.
Thank you very much. How is it going? Are you still here? I'm Melala. You're still here. All of us use vehicles, and so today all of us have been very attentive. My task is very specific, and I'll just do that. I want to for coming, for listening, for contributing, and for taking some notes. I have written a lot of notes. So I'll start with our guests. Thank you very much, Engineer Tioni and Justus. Thank you very much for preparing, for taking your time, and for coming to give us insights on what you do, how you do it, and even the lessons that you have learned through the processes that you have undertaken over the years. I have written a lot of lessons learned, starting from the communication, the standing meetings, the ISO, risk management, design, development, and there you talked about customization, and that's very close to my heart, because when you're doing research, sometimes you don't quite invent. And as you're doing innovations, you mostly adopt solutions that have been done elsewhere, and there you talked about adapting them into our environments, and that's very, very important. And so as we do our designs, as we do our processes, it is important that as we adopt solutions from elsewhere, then we also need to customize them to our situations, starting from the environmental conditions and even our human behavior as Kenyans. I also noticed something that I think I want to mention as I thank you, talking about building in quality in the processes, as Engineer KeNHA has mentioned, and lastly, building sustainable businesses. At KeNHA, we are focusing on sustainability through innovation, and so for us, it's very timely and encouraging to hear that even you, the other side, as we plan to cooperate with you, as we plan to work together, that you're also talking about sustainability. So thank you very much, and we appreciate the effort. Thank you very much to our directors who are here. Thank you to my boss, Director PRC, for your support through this process, and even for your presence. You have been here before the day, and even today you're here with us. We're grateful. Thank you very much, Director Foucault, for your cooperation, for your support to us, and for your presence here. We really appreciate. And even the DG in his absence, we really appreciate his support, and we appreciate even his thoughts and even the willingness to be here, and even as he was not able to be here with us. To the rest of us colleagues, thank you very much. Online, I'm told we were up to 250 and above. Much, much appreciated. Physically here, we are over 120. Again, thank you very much for leaving your desks to be here. And I guess that each and every one of us have learned something. And now it's my pleasure and honor to invite Director Highway Design and Safety, Director Foucault, to give us our closing remarks. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Victoria. Are we here? You are awake? Or you have had a quality sleep? On a light note, who can tell me what is the greatest equipment or product or something that has ever been created here on Earth? The greatest, perhaps can I call it equipment or something, ever created? Can you clap for, nowadays she's an engineer, Engineer Esther Kebaya. I was so amazed. I've learned quite a lot. Today I've heard that Isuzu parts 30,000. Just let me give you some information about the human body. The capillaries, if they are put together, they measure 96,000 kilometers, which means, using the circumference of the earth, which is 40,000, it means all your capillaries can go around the earth twice, and then you remain with a change of 16,000 kilometers. That is how serious the human body is, and you have been able to see how the assembly of things are done in Isuzu. You can imagine how God, in his wisdom, although some people say there is no God, I don't know how they think, but how people have been assembled. You can imagine if you are given the shower test, in case it rains, the rain does not mix with your blood. And again after that, God was able to paint you. Some of you are painted black, some brown, some whatever, at the end of it all. So it's manifest work that he has done. So I'd like to take this opportunity, first of all, to really appreciate the team from Isuzu for that quite elaborate presentation. We have really learned a lot. I believe there is quite a lot that we'll still be able to, we could not finish all the things within the session. There is a lot we'll do, some maybe further collaborations. I'll mention on some of the things we can continue collaborating. PRC team led by the director and Engineer Kirira, Dr. Victoria. Thank you so much. I'll really appreciate you. There are so many things that we have been able to learn, issues to do with quality, and essentially we need to make a decision, perhaps as an organization, on what to adopt, as we have been able to have a presentation by a QA deputy director on what they are planning to do, which in support, especially issues to do establishment of our own laboratories as just part of the quality aspect checking. It is not the end in itself. What I want at the end of the day, let us adopt what is called total quality management, whereby quality is taken not as an end product of its own, but as a process. We have, so that when we do things like even the testing, the quality control, it's just one of the aspects. Issues to do with the quality audits is just one of the aspects to give us an assurance that our processes that we have put in place are working. But let us not maybe just put it like we do not look at the other aspects in the entire pipeline. Like when we are having a project, how did we, the contractors that we have, are they quality? The staff that are employed to supervise, what level of quality are they? Are they accredited? Are they qualified accordingly? The equipments that are being used, perhaps even in the, are they calibrated? The material sources, are they the correct material sources? So it is a whole it's a whole process, so that we do not go to the end of the pipe and now start getting when things have already been done. So it is a total quality management aspect, which we need to embrace it, and I think we should be learning more about it. The road asset management, that we are going to roll it out, I'm aware of that. But more importantly, is the development of the culture of quality, which as Isuzu, we have been told by Isuzu, they have developed a culture, and I'm glad that also our team is trying to do that as part of the recommendation, and also issues of planning. You see, when you plan, it means that you plan everything. You have the end from the beginning. So those are some of the things that we need to embrace. So we have gotten the issues of perception. As you say, Isuzu, you look at the perception aspect. Everybody is aligned to what, from the lowest to the highest, which involve the issues again of culture. And then you said something very important on quality mindset. It's all in the mind. I keep on talking about the mind, which is very important. And then we also have our customers. Customer satisfaction, like KeNHA, we would like to know what you feel You give us the feedback, and then also you can help us on how to be able to improve, because you can give us a better feedback than what we know ourselves. And on another issue, I'm in charge of safety. This has been a very an issue that is really on our mind. So perhaps we'll see how to collaborate moving forward. I know you have been working with the NTSA. Perhaps we'll work out something so that we ensure that issues of safety are put on board, because we do good roads, quality roads, but sometimes some of the factors, based on the audits that have been done after accidents have occurred, they are attributable to the vehicle working conditions. We have issues of fake brake pads in the market. How can you assist in this aspect? I'm glad to hear that you have also done something to do with driver sensitization to change their behavior. We are planning a road safety conference with NTSA some time back, where we'll bring on board various stakeholders, and giving us a perspective from the industry will be of key help to help us to move this issue forward. So what I'd like also to urge those who are here, let us take quality from a personal level. Let us embrace quality, not only even in our workplace, even in your own personal life. And that is something that if we are able to do, you'll see a very big change even in the way we do things in our country, because it will create a critical mass of the people who like doing quality things. So as I close, I'll just want to say that perhaps you can be able to liaise with our team of PRC to come up with some of the things you can give us, so that we can look at them, that can also help us based on our own conditions, the way we operate, how we can improve our own quality processes, because I've seen like the issues you normally do, those meetings, I've seen the issues to do with quality engineers, and many of those aspects that you do. How can we domesticate within our own setup based on what we do? Because the principles are more or less the same. And I've seen you had put on the Edward Deming cycle, where you act, plan, do, and check. Perhaps you can tell us how that can also be applied within our space. Engineer Howard has spoken something very important about using data for decision making. The statistical aspect, this was used very much during the World War II. There was a lot of development that happened during that time, and with that, quality was embraced and many aspects came up after that. So what are some of the things that can be used from your end to help us to do what we are doing in our process? So we'll have, perhaps we'll sit together later, we'll see how we can leverage on your competences and see how we can work together. But on the issues of road safety, we'll work together. Issues also of, you talked of ESG, issues of sustainability. We're also in charge of issues to do with the environment. You are producing vehicles. How do we ensure that sustainability in terms of environmental? And finally, as I close, I've seen you want to, there are customized 159 vehicles. Huh? I think 159, why can't you round it? Give me one. Huh? Round it off to 160 so that the figure is more neater, to the nearest zero. But I know it's because of the 159 seconds, but we can always talk about it. Thank you so much and be blessed.
Thank you, Director. That was in yours. That was in yours. What has a beginning has an end, right? As we conclude, I have three announcements. The first one is that we have had 2 knowledge sharing sessions. One was done by HDS, this one is PRC. The next one will be our annual conference in September. And in this conference, we are hoping to showcase the innovations that you have been doing in your various day-to-day activities. And so we will be calling upon each and every one of us here to come forth and give us the ideas that you have been thinking about, the ideas that you have innovated, the ideas that you have implemented in your day-to-day activities, so that we can showcase them during our annual innovation conference in September. So kindly prepare, we will be getting to you shortly. Secondly, if any of us here did not register, kindly register so that we have a record of those who have attended this session. And lastly, we have tea and refreshments, as was said by Mr. Cage. Kindly join us in that also. And before I call the person praying, I'd like to thank our moderators for today. Thank you, Mr. Cage. Thank you, Engineer Howard. And thank you, Engineer Kirira, very much. Sorry, I forgot to thank you. I think I got so much into the Isuzu team that I forgot you. I'm very sorry. Thank you so, so much. And to my team, Team RI and KM, much appreciated. Your hard work is appreciated. Thank you, Geoffrey, for organizing this. So I'll invite Mr. Atuti, is it Atuti? Atuti to pray for us to end this session. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. God is good and all the time. Yes, mine is to pray, but before I pray, let me read something from the Bible, which is in connection with what we have learned today concerning quality. Also, God is a God of quality. In the book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 9, verses 10, it says, "Whatever thy hand findeth to do, do it with thy mighty, for there is no work, nor device, nor knowledge, nor wisdom in the grave thou goest." Also, the second witness is in the book of 1 Corinthians chapter 10, verses 31. It says that whatever you do, do it for the glory of God. Amen. Let's have a word of prayer. We can raise up a word of prayer. Thank you. Let's believe and pray. Our God and our Father in heaven, we come before your presence this afternoon to worship you, to adore you, to give you glory for who you are and for what you've done for us, for what you are going to do for us, and for your faithfulness and love. We come before you to ask for the forgiveness. Lord, forgive us and cleanse us from all our unrighteousness. So, Father, thank you, Lord, so much for this session that we have been taught on knowledge sharing. Thank you for this opportunity. For those of us who are in KeNHA, we pray that, Lord, may you help us to do work according to what you desire us to do and to give you glory. And even for the visitors who have come from Isuzu, we also pray for them and their colleagues that, Lord, they may do everything according to your own glory. Help us, Lord. May we be faithful to you, for you are faithful to us. As we break and go to other various places, we pray that, Lord, may you be with us. Thank you, and for those ones who watched online. And we pray that, Father, may your name be lifted up, for his prayer in Jesus' name. Amen. God bless you all.